On today's episode of Video Topics Nobody Asked For, we're going to talk about the West Coast Wrigley Field. The West Coast Wrigley Field was opened in September of 1925 and it was made to resemble the Wrigley Field that was in Chicago, just with a Spanish-style architecture. And from 1925 to 1957, the Los Angeles Angels played at this version of Wrigley Field. And of course, the Angels played in the PCL and they were a minor league team of the Cubs at that time. Furthermore, the Hollywood Stars of the PCL also played at the West Coast Wrigley Field from 1926 to 1935 and in 1938. Also in 1938, the NFL held their Pro Bowl at the West Coast Wrigley Field, and in 1948, it also hosted Pepperdine's college football team for a season there. Then in the Los Angeles Angels' first season in Major League Baseball, which was in 1961, the Angels actually played at the West Coast Wrigley Field. And by 1969, the West Coast Wrigley Field was demolished. So in the stadium's 44-year history, it saw a lot of baseball, some football, some boxing, some filming events for movies, and it overall was quite the spectacle during its time. Apparently, when the Dodgers moved to the West Coast from Brooklyn, this was actually one of the places they looked at playing before they chose Chavez Ravine. So there's definitely a alternate reality out there where the Dodgers ended up playing at this version of Wrigley Field, and who knows, maybe could still be playing there to this day. But I decided to highlight this field in a video because I actually didn't know about the West Coast Wrigley Field in Los Angeles until just a couple years ago. And you would think such a famous stadium like Wrigley Field to have a sister stadium on the West Coast, it'd be talked about a little bit more. I know it's been torn down for over 50 years, but at the same time, you would think people would talk about it here or there because it's not like it didn't have a long history. It existed for 44 years, hosted PCL baseball, which was huge at the time, and still no one really talks about it. I gotta say, from the pictures I found online, the stadium is really cool looking with the Spanish architecture to the normal Wrigley outfield walls we kind of think of. It's brick with ivy, even has like a right center bleacher area, and it overall just looks like an awesome old stadium, and it's too bad that it doesn't exist in some capacity today. Another very interesting tidbit about this version of Wrigley Field, that it actually got lights added to this field in 1930, where the Wrigley Field in Chicago did not get lights until 1988. The Wrigley Field on the West Coast got lights 58 years before the Wrigley Field in Chicago did. That is wild to think about. Also, a few more details about the park. Left field was 340 feet, center field was 412, and right field was 339 feet. But I gotta say, there's really not much more to add to the story. It's very interesting that the West Coast had a Wrigley Field for 44 years, but either way, I thought it was worth talking about. Maybe you didn't know that this was a thing, and now you do. You learned something new today. So let me know down in the comments, did you know that the West Coast had a Wrigley Field? Let me know it down in the comment section below, and while you're down there, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time, guys, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching.